the fabric of our star began to fray, and the unchecked energies of creation begat malformed beasts. The land buckled, the cities burned, the waters ran red with blood. Yet this was far from the worst of it. The star was fading. We saw we had to weave its laws anew. Just as prayer gives rise to prideals, our dread made manifest our deepest fears. Come, and I will show you, and you will see the end of a world.
These last few moments are mine, to live as the man I once was. I am proud of you, child. You were wise enough to deduce the manner of creature I had become. If any here should beg forgiveness, it is I.
You think us the same? You think your tattered soul of equal worth to those I lost? Then come, earn your place. Prove yourselves worthy to inherit this star.
Merry Christmas, or when you watch this later, Happy New Year, or even Happy Patch 5.2. Today, I want to present you my first comprehensive guide for a healing job, starring our secretly dark messenger, the White Mage. The White Mage is the perfect role model of a healer, having access to spells that will regenerate HP over time, while using big burst healings for a single person with Benediction, or some very flexible and useful OGCDs to get into the game at any time, even when moving. Since Shadowbringers, the White Mage also received a heavy boost to his personal damage and received many tools to help its realization. Actually, the White Mage seems to lack a single weak spot. His group damage is insane, his mitigation kit has become strong in Shadowbringers, and his effective healing arsenal seeks for competition. Compared to Scholar or Astrologian, the White Mage focuses way more on doing the thing by itself, healing up the group, dealing damage or eradicating heavy tank busters, but without any offensive support to his companions. Gear-wise, the White Mage can be simple or complicated, which depends heavily on your playstyle. So let us start with the simple stuff. Like it is for all the tanks and DPS alike, heading for item level and weapon damage will always be a good choice, but if you want to choose between one 470 piece and the other, things get a bit more complicated. In either case, critical hit is king and will stay as that for the whole Shadowbringers period, as long as Square isn't going to change their values. After that, you have to decide, do you want to truly focus on healing? Piety is the safest option to aim for everlasting MP. But since MP management is way more dependent on your managing skills and wise usage of cooldowns and spells, a high piety value could be oversaturating. My rule of thumb, head for a piety value that you feel comfortable with, and try to fine-tune MP management that you can easily reduce piety from time to time, because coming out with its basic value while still having MP over the whole fight will result in the best choice of secondary stats. The next aspect is even more complicated. Do you really want to focus on damage while healing only on peaks and maybe let your co-healer turn on the healing spotlights? Then direct hit could have a very small advantage over your determination, but actually that margin is so small that I cannot recommend you any form of direct hit over determination, unless you really want to go for FFLog's damage percentiles, then maybe you could favor it. Okay, spell speed. It's the worst offensive and defensive stat, even when there may be some reactive speed builds. Generally, healers don't need much spell speed because they don't have enshrined rotations that require certain GCD soft caps and rely more on a priority system. Nonetheless, spell speed is still much better than any point of piety if you are able to manage your MP. So definitely try to find that sweet spot of your personal rotation and equipment, so that you can gradually reduce your piety value with each step of knowledge and experience coming into your mindset. Therefore, the next section seems to be the most important. Of course, I will cover the White Mage specific spells, so if you want some basic healing tips or want to avoid common mistakes, check out my latest video called 3 Misconceptions About Healing, or the Healer Optimization Guide of Zerg on the Balance website, or the Healer Optimization video of Momo. To receive some structure in these chaotic days, let me first cover the healing spells, which I will divide into group healing and single target healing. First we have Cure, which is the basic healing spell that also has the chance to grant a free Cure too, which is Cure 1 but stronger. One important thing, while also being the MP saver version, Cure 1 also has a last cast time, so if you don't have any resources for instant spells or other opportunities and need healing ASAP, use Cure 1. In most situations, it just doesn't heal enough for getting the thing running, so try to focus on Cure 2 and avoid having MP issues. In the best case, make use of your other spells, but first let us see the group healing variants of these spells, Medica and Medica 2. Here you should definitely favor Medica 2 because it nearly costs the same amount of MP, only has 100 less potency on the heal itself, but comes with an insane healing on time effect that actually is able to heal your entire group up to solid HP values. So only use Medica 1 if you really fall into MP troubleshooting, or if you already have a fresh region on the party and overriding it would be waste of MP. Mentioning healing on time, region is also a healing on time effect, but unlike the old days of early healing, don't use it manually on single target group members, unless they have received a debuff that needs to be healed or you have movement situations. The main addressee should be both tanks or people simply loving AoEs consistently. There also is a spell that somehow combines Medica and Cure in the form of Cure 3. That one emanates healing around your target with a heavy potency of 550 and a bit smaller cast time than Medica. This spell only comes in handy if you need to power heal against consistent damage waves or repetitive raid busters that will hit twice in a row or something like that. Of course, if your group needs to stack anyways and you need to keep some lilies for immediate healing afterwards, like in Eden 3's second tsunami phase for instance, Cure 3 can be a very good alternative. But otherwise, always stick to your Lily, OGCD or Medica 2 heals because they make the deal much more consistently and without spending effort to stack the group or with lesser MP costs. Okay, before coming to the OGCD heals and damage spells, let us check the White Mage Lily mechanic. Every 30 seconds while finding yourself in battle, you will spawn one Lily that is used for either Afflatus Solace or Afflatus Rapture. The first being a heavy 700 potency single target heal, and the second being Medica 1 as an instant version, with one Lily as payment. After you have reached level 74, each use of one of these spells will grant you a stack of Blood Lily that is completed at 3 stacks, granting access to Afflatus Misery, a heavy instant attack with insanely 900 potency for the first target, reducing in effectiveness by 10% for each target until the 5th, and capping at 50% of its damage to all beyond the 5th. That sounds amazingly powerful, right? Indeed, these Lily spells are insane in dealing with any form of situation immediately, while also powering up your offensive value as well. So actually you should always favor Lily spells for healing up your group or your tank, because you can also do this while moving. My tip here, if you really know a certain fight by heart, use your patience and your Lily to master every mechanic, and try to heal against most mechanics with Lilies alone. Not alone completely, because the OGCD heals are even better in most situations. Starting with Assize, this also has a damaging component, for which you should use it primarily. I know, we are healers, but 400 potency into the target while your dot spell costs a recast timer is insane. Nevertheless, the optimal use of it would spiral in not delaying it more than 5 seconds, while also hitting the boss or other enemies and still receiving some healing for anyone in your group. So if you can manage to construct a rotation to work in that way, Master Louisoix would be proud of you. The next one is Benediction, again on the single target side but actually being the god of heals. This heals 100% of the target's HP and is the strongest weapon against heavy tank busters, or the biggest redemption to any Dark Knight in your group that otherwise would die from his living dead downside. Take care that you never waste this precious spell by throwing it on people with more than 60% life, except real emergencies. And never use it twice on the same target in the same seconds, because your communication with the other White Mage was inconsistent or non-existent. The next and weaker one, but with a shorter cooldown, is Tetragrammaton, also being a single target heal OGCD that perfectly fits into your window of reapplying the Dire Dot or when using a Lily spell for group or single target healing, paired with Afflatus Solace or other single target heals to get a single player back on track. Okay, before heading to our very straightforward damaging kit, let us check out our utility tools and cooldowns that make healing or damaging much easier. Starting with my absolute favorite, Divine Banishing, which is my personal go to hell buddies I will live and get you back up with LB3 button. It is an OGCD shield granting a protection with 500 potency. This is extremely strong for preventing any form of peak damage to kill a specific player, may it be a tank buster or just the ordinary mechanic, AoE or raid buster that otherwise would kill a latecomer certainly. Banishin protects your people against their own mistakes or is the ultimate tool for guaranteeing the tanks or your personal survival. The next is Asylum, a splendid OGCD that covers a certain area on the floor, healing up the people standing in it while also increasing their received healing. What shall I say about that? It's clear, right? Keep it on cooldown and use it to enhance all of your healing efforts. Oh wait, the best opportunity to use it if you're lazy is to lay down Asylum and hope for mindful party members to take care of their health by themselves. The next two are sort of improvements to your overall healing potential and will mostly be used in power healing phases, or if you want the best healing potential coming out of your spells. Plenary Indulgence grants your group a 10-second buff that causes any HP recovery of your next Medica, Medica 2, Cure 3 or Afflatus Rapture you cast to heal targets under the buff effect with 200 potency on top of the original healing. Just use it as Medica 2 healing is required or together with your lilies. You will find a good spot for it, don't worry. That mentioned, your Temperance also is a straight 20% boost to any healing you weave, while also reducing incoming damage of your group by 10%. Power heal with it or use it to reduce received damage and heal afterwards. Actually, both of its effects harmonize perfectly, so make use of both in the best case. Another one, Thin Air, nullifying any MP cost for 12 seconds. Don't save it for timings of big heals with Medica 2 or even Cure 3. Just use it at the same moment you know you will cast some spells in consecution. I personally time it after I used Lucid Dreaming, after I lost about 30% of my MP. With that, you guarantee that your MP will be filled again, and you can also rely on some natural MP regeneration on the start of any fight. Okay, the final one is Presence of Mind, and I mentioned it at this spot of the guide because it will directly lead into our damaging spells. POM makes your Pyroblast an instant cast. Oh wait, that was World of Warcraft, sorry. Presence of Mind reduces your cast time, recast time and auto attack delay by 20%. The reason why I advise you to use it with your damaging kit is because your healing potential just is too strong. Presence of Mind only pays out if you're using its effect to cast off a spammed consecution of spells, but spamming big AoE heals or heavy single target heals doesn't make sense. So try to start it early on the fight, when no damage is thrown at your group, and make use of your hardcast Glare spells. Glare, your prime damaging spell evoked in 2.5 seconds cast time. It hurts your enemy quite decently, and if you spam it, sometimes even heavily. Glare, that will replace your stone variants on high level, should be used in each second. Your group or your tank don't require your healing or mitigating support. That means actually the whole system of the White Mage evolves around getting out as many glares as possible while still keeping your party alive. So secure the survival of your group and try to fit in between some very effective glare spells. But you have to remember a very important thing: Dire. Dire should always be active on at least one target. If you have more and up to 5 or 6 targets, apply Dire on them. So while keeping your group alive, Dire should never run off in the best case, and you should fit Glare in between. Furthermore, make use of your Blood Lily stacks with Afflatus Misery. Compared to Dire and Glare, it can also be held back for movement situations, but never longer than your other Afflatus spells would proc another Blood Lily. Then favor Misery over your other 2 spells to free some space for new stacks. One last and short thing about Swift Cast and Raise. Just save Swift for it. Don't be too greedy unless you have great faith in your group and trust each of your party members. Then you can use it a bit more flexible. But for Party Finder, dailies or any content, having a Swift Raise ready is always useful. Okay, that was quite a bunch of theory, but I think because healers need to adjust to each and every situation, it is better to know what spells fit your arsenal to do so, instead of sticking to strict patterns. So even if Larry created a meme out of this, truth is held within its essence. Healers need to adjust to each fight and group constellation individually. So always try to find a perfect balance and never waste the insane potential of your role. Nevertheless, there still is some sort of mini opener that I won't conceal from you. As nearly each fight starts with a very slow progression and damage coming in a bit delayed, use that opportunity to get in your damaging kit until you have to adjust again and balance damage and healing. Therefore, use a potion pre-pull if you can afford it and start casting Glare at 3 or to be safe on 2 seconds of the countdown timer, followed by your Dia spell and a wise move towards the boss for using your Assize during Dia's recast timer and hitting the boss with it. Don't worry, Assize's range is insane. Then, the second OGCD in the Dia recast timer window should optimally be Presence of Mind to start off a spam sequence of Glare afterwards that you should continue with. Do this until the first damaging attack hits your tank, your group, or you have to move on a specific position. And because that varies heavily for each fight, start adjusting now. Here at Eden 3 Savage for example, we want our first raid damage to be healed, while also protecting the group with Temperance, because the next raid wide damage will hit very late afterwards. Then I keep continuing Glare spamming, while trusting on my HOTS and my communication with the co-healer, that will benedict the first tank buster. Then after the dot runs off and the buster hit the tank, I want to snapshot my Dia into the last seconds of the potion window, and while doing, already journeying forwards to prepare myself for the tidal wave of Leviathan. And that's just one example, to use your role's potential into certain mechanics of an encounter. Of course, with perfect communication, you could also let one healer take the first raid damage, and keep pressing in your own damage. But it's Party Finder guys, it's always good to run it some sort of safely. In dungeons, things are getting a bit more complicated, but on the other hand, the power of the White Mage is ultimately shown here. While walking side by side with the tank, address each target with your Dia spell, because you want to avoid an early enmity attention by using healing spells on your tank. Maybe Regen can be thrown in here, but I highly recommend using other tools later on. Dia is strong and useful as long as you could not use Holy on more than 5 targets instead. But until the pack is gathered up completely, Dia is always useful. And if stacking is secured, you need to measure how much your tank can still endure and decide either for Holy if he's in a good mood or any healing spell if he isn't. The most important thing here is that you at least throw in one Holy. Even if you are the full safety dude or girl, Holy is your best spell in pack pulls and no healing or mitigating ability can compete against it. I think some White Mages are really underestimating that 5-second stun caused by Holy. Use it, there's no excuse in not doing so, because it opens up so much space for healing, damage or starting up your ACT for actually seeing that White Mage devastation. After that, keep adjusting, don't hesitate to also use Benediction on your tank and make use of your precious OGCD heals, while using Lily heals primarily to unlock your Afflatus Misery with 3 Blood Lily stacks. That is one of the heaviest AoE attacks in game. Oh man, I could talk an hour or more about the White Mage because of its unyielding potential and endless capability to improve each step, each sequence and each decision you can make for it. But of course, if you want to turn water into wine or walk over water, you may be wrong here. But becoming the ultimate personal healing weapon or transform into the Dark Messenger among those screen jobs, the White Mage is the perfect choice. I hope I could provide a solid White Mage foundation, and surely, if you want to take it to the next level, practice.
腕立て伏せ100回、上体起こし100回、スクワット100回、そしてランニング10キロ。これを毎日やる。
Or visit the Balance Discord and ask some mentors there about any recommendations. Thank you all for watching. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year or Happy Patch 5.2. And if you like this video, subscribe to my channel and hit that notification button. It would be an amazing Christmas present for me. See you in the next video, and until then, take care.
Well, this is going splendidly. Now would be a good time, milady!